Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Red Flags Only podcast, where we dive into things you thought you understood, but might have missed the warning signs along the way. I'm your host, Dion Royal, and I got some real mess for you today.
And I'm your co-host for today, Louisiana Jones. Make sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons so we can keep the mess coming. You can support the channel below at #DisYoDaddy. Every bit helps us keep the content coming and the quality high.
Relationship advice has become a billion-dollar industry built on emotional vulnerability. But here's the twist. The most successful gurus often have the least credible backgrounds. Today, we're exploring how a podcast called Tonight's Conversation reveals the fascinating psychology behind this phenomenon. What's particularly striking is their audience demographics. We're looking at crowds that are 90% women with a specific focus on Black women's experiences in dating and relationships. The targeting is incredibly precise.
Well, that's such an interesting angle to explore, especially considering they've managed to build this empire, charging $60 annual subscriptions while selling out live venues across the country. And they've really mastered the art of packaging this content, haven't they? The attractive hosts, the exclusive content model, the live events, it's all carefully crafted to create this perception of premium value.
You know what's fascinating about their business model? They've essentially created multiple revenue streams, live events, streaming content, merchandise, all while positioning themselves as relationship experts without any formal credentials.
That reminds me of something I read about parasocial relationships, how people develop these one-sided emotional connections with media figures. It seems like that's a huge part of their success. Well, that, and the fact that vulnerable women are easy and niggas love some easy pussy.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you look at similar platforms like Derek Jackson's content or other relationship gurus, you see this pattern of exploiting emotional vulnerability while offering what amounts to temporary emotional relief rather than actual solutions. I like to call they ass relationship goofies.
The contrast with someone like Cooking with Kaya really highlights this, doesn't it? She built her brand on straightforward authenticity rather than pseudo-psychology. I'm about to clap these cheeks and shake this monkey while making baked chicken. Seems overly simple, but it works for sis.
And that's what makes this whole phenomenon so compelling. The way these platforms have managed to monetize pain points while actually potentially delaying real healing or growth. They're essentially selling emotional band-aids instead of addressing deeper issues. And the whole time they got all kinds of shenanigans going on in the background. You can't be out here simping for the ladies in public, but nailing your employees to the cross behind closed doors.
That brings up an important question. What's the real cost to people who might be avoiding professional help because they're getting this surface-level comfort from these shows? To be honest, I really don't think they want to be helped as much as they want to feel good in the moment.
Well, let's look at the psychology behind why these platforms are so successful. Studies have shown that people tend to trust advice more when it comes from attractive, seemingly successful individuals, even in areas where appearance has no relevance to expertise. It sounds better coming from an attractive person, even if it's harmful.
So in essence, they're applying luxury marketing tactics to relationship advice, creating this perception of scarcity and exclusivity through their premium subscription model and sold-out venues. These niggas out here multi-level marketing the coochie and getting away with it.
And here's where the recent behind-the-scenes drama becomes particularly relevant. When you mix attractive people, money, power dynamics, and workplace relationships without proper corporate structure or HR protocols, you're creating a perfect storm for problems. The boss just feels like he can squeeze your titties anytime he wants because you signed the non-disclosure agreement.
The way everything unfolded really wasn't surprising to anyone who's studied similar operations, was it? It almost seems inevitable. The boss, with no discipline, usually meets his demise, trying to fuck all the employees on the roster and bitches that was trying to sleep their way to the top, usually watch their come up, get escorted from the premises by security.
What's truly concerning is how these platforms often discourage critical thinking. When you're emotionally invested in a guru or platform, you're less likely to question their credentials or challenge their advice, even when red flags start appearing. Shameless plug.
That emotional investment aspect is fascinating. People often defend these platforms with the same fervor they defend a close friend or family member. Groups like the Beehive and the Brawn Sexuals come to mind with that foolishness.
And let's talk about the impact on legitimate relationship education and counseling. These platforms might actually be making it harder for qualified professionals to reach people who really need help. The Black female therapist already went down a TikTok rabbit hole of how they were starting to refuse female clients because they are never wrong and are rarely prepared to be held accountable for their problems.
Well, that raises an interesting point about responsibility, both for the content creators and the consumers. It's tough to help someone who doesn't believe anything is wrong with them. How do we foster more accountability in this space?
Perhaps the solution starts with being more transparent about qualifications and track records. Do a fucking background check. A cursory surface overview can reveal a lot. Instead of just sharing success stories, what about following up on the long-term impact of their advice? What about requiring some form of certification or oversight?
Maybe quit listening to folks simply because they're attractive and can spit a bunch of sweet nothing when you're feeling weak. That kind of accountability would certainly change the landscape of relationship advice content, though it might make it less profitable.
And that's really the heart of the issue, the tension between providing genuine help and maintaining a profitable business model. The question becomes, can these platforms serve both masters effectively?
What's crazy is that people go to school for years to follow a dream and fulfill a purpose of helping people deal with their mental and social issues. Many of them never imagined they would get rich when they started. They just wanted to help. And now we have a bunch of pretenders running around the internet, fleecing the community and looking good while doing it. Looking at the current landscape, it seems most have chosen profit over genuine impact, even if they won't admit it openly.
Yeah, them niggas show is shining. Maybe the most valuable lesson here is the importance of being more discerning consumers of relationship advice, regardless of how attractively it's packaged or how many followers the person giving it has.
That's probably the key takeaway. The need to look beyond the surface and ask harder questions about who's really benefiting from the advice we're consuming. Considering how all this is going, you'd probably be better off talking to somebody's grandparents about how they stayed together so long. You find out pretty quick, this shit ain't glamorous, it's real work.